Let's talk more about this now with Haley Soifer, CEO at the Jewish Democratic Council of America, and Admiral James Stavridis, the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. Admiral, let's start with you. Do you think a temporary ceasefire is the right decision right now? And if Benjamin Netanyahu continues to refuse this, is there some way to change tactics and avoid the horrific scenes we've seen at these Palestinian refugee camps?
I don't think a sweeping in-place ceasefire is appropriate from a military perspective if you're looking at this from the Israeli side of events. What is quite possible to do, and this is why the administration has used the words humanitarian pause, not a ceasefire. A ceasefire is everywhere, everybody stops, you really freeze the frame. That is not what Israel is going to do, nor would I recommend it as a military officer. What they should do, my view, is humanitarian pauses. Those can be a day, 3 days. They can be in southern Gaza. They can be in Gaza City. They're targeted. They're used kind of like precision guided, if you will, for the maximum humanitarian effect. I think humanitarian pauses make sense. A general sweeping ceasefire, to my eye, does not.
All right, so Haley, are you hearing any concerns among top Jewish leaders here at home about how Prime Minister Netanyahu is executing this operation? And do you see any potential risks to Israel in losing global support after the weeks of such a stunning attack by Hamas?
It's clear that no one wants civilian casualties in this conflict other than Hamas, which is intentionally using hospitals as military bases, using Palestinians as human shields, diverting humanitarian supplies to build tunnels under schools, under mosques, under hospitals, where they're likely keeping 240 hostages. This underscores why there can be no moral equivalence between the actions of Israel and those of Hamas. And as Secretary Blinken said today, Hamas doesn't care one iota for the welfare of the Palestinian people. It's why they must be held accountable for the horrific slaughter of over 1,400 people, including 31 Americans. And a ceasefire at this time would allow Hamas to regroup and attack again. This isn't just speculation. It's the stated intent of Hamas leaders as recently as yesterday. There was a ceasefire in place on October 6th. It was the ceasefire that ended the last conflict between Israel and Hamas in 2021. And Hamas used that opportunity for 2 years to plan the most horrific slaughter of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. So it's clear that there cannot be a ceasefire at this time. But Secretary Blinken, President Biden are doing everything they can to ensure two things, and that is that the hostages get out and humanitarian aid gets in to innocent Palestinians.
So, Admiral, we just heard from the Hezbollah leader. I'm sure you heard Matt Bradley's report. What should we take from his rhetoric? Is this just firing up his base, or is there a real concern that Hezbollah could extend their operations into Israel or perhaps even further south?
Yeah, we can't discount entirely the idea that Tehran, and believe me, that speech was essentially written in Tehran and pumped into the lips of Nasrallah, a creature of the Iranian theocracy. There is no doubt that there is a possibility Iran could try and sort of unleash Hezbollah. I think it's unlikely. I'd call it 10%. Maybe 15%. That's still uncomfortably high. But I heard the speech, read it. I see a lot of bluster, but I don't see a declaration of war. I think playing to the base is correct. Final thought here. He is very cognizant that 100 miles to the west of southern Lebanon are not one, but two American carrier strike groups, 160 combat aircraft. There are 5 squadrons of Air Force aircraft now in that region, 2,000 Marines afloat. There's a lot of combat power there. We don't intend to use it. We don't want to use it. But the president has made it very clear to the Iranians and therefore to the Hezbollah that should they unleash a massive attack on Israel, we will be game on in this thing. And he doesn't want that. He knows he would be on the losing end of that proposition, in my view. Therefore, chances, I think, are low, but not completely impossible.
All right, and Haley, quickly to you to wrap up. You've been critical of the standalone Israel funding bill that passed the House last night. Where do you see the opening here? And will Republicans and Democrats be able to come to some sort of compromise to get funding to Israel as soon as possible?
That standalone bill was no more than a show by Republicans aiming to score cheap political points at Israel's expense, as opposed to providing essential, immediate, and unconditional assistance. And despite Democrats' very strong support of Israel, the majority didn't vote for it because for the first time, it conditioned aid to Israel on cuts to the IRS, which were unnecessary, completely unrelated, and expensive. They would increase the deficit. So it also delayed the assistance that Israel so badly needs because Republicans knew this bill was dead on arrival. President Biden has threatened a veto. It does not have support in the Senate from Democrats or Republicans. So it's delayed this essential $14.3 billion in assistance, which has been pledged by President Biden that we need to deliver immediately. It was a political ploy.